Oh, and Pereira coming in with a big right. Did he hurt Izzy? Izzy's wobbly. Oh, Izzy takes a left, now an uppercut. Takes a right. Oh my gosh. No. No, Pereira's pounding away. Oh, Izzy's going down and it's over. Wow.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is The Community MMA with your host, Chris Cross.
Boom! 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 And new Khamzat Chimaev and new. What up? What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is The Community MMA. So a lot to discuss today. Of course, we're going to get to Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya, that prediction. We'll break that fight down. We'll look back at UFC 281 when Pereira KO'd Adesanya. But first and foremost, you got Khamzat Chimaev back in the news. And this guy can't stay out of the news. Now he's going through Ramadan right now. We're in April. So he's got 22 days left of Ramadan. It ends April 22nd. And right about that time, we should be getting some information on Khamzat Chimaev, who he's going to fight. A lot of people are saying Paulo Costa, as you'll see when we get to the Q&A a little bit later in the show. But Gilbert Burns is weighing in, and he's going off a little bit on Khamzat Chimaev, giving him a little bit of a compliment, but also talking about a middleweight division fight. He says he is very big, and he's going to do whatever he wants to do. He told MMA Junkie in Spanish, I like him. He's a great fighter. He fights very well, but talks a lot. If he's going to middleweight, then let's see it. When he first started, he was like, oh, I'll fight every weekend against anyone. I'm hungry. Now he doesn't fight and months go by. So if you're going to move up in weight, then move up in weight. He talks a lot. I think after we fought, he changed his line of thinking. You know, and I would disagree with that. I don't think Khamzat has changed his line of thinking at all. And he would fight every week. The fact is that once you move up in the rankings, we said this a long time ago, before he beat Burns, that once he moves up, it's going to be nearly impossible for him to get a fight. And that's exactly what has transpired. Now, we can get on him for, being down 7 pounds or missing weight by 7 pounds against Nate Diaz, but what did he gain from that fight? Nothing. That's why he wasn't really concerned about making weight. And he got within 3 pounds of making weight, and the UFC told him more or less to stop cutting weight. At least those are the stories that trickled out after the fact. How true are they? We don't know. But that's what's being said. And then they rescheduled the fight with Kevin Holland. He went in there and dropped him in a matter of a few minutes. It was easy. Khamzat Chimaev! So, it is what it is. Burns goes on. I think at middleweight he'll do well, but those guys are very big. Like Paulo Costa, Alex Pereira, Robert Whittaker. Those are all very good. I think he returns to welterweight eventually. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he does 1 or 2, but then he's going to see he's not the bully, the biggest guy. I think after that, he returns to the weight class, speaking of the welterweight division. Yeah, he'll return to the welterweight division after he wins the middleweight title. He doesn't need to be a bully, but he's much bigger at middleweight. I'm less concerned with him at middleweight than I am at welterweight because he's got to squeeze down into the weight. He's not at his strongest. At middleweight, he looks solid. And unfortunately, he's been battling in the welterweight recently. We haven't seen him in the middleweight division since, I believe, Gerald Meerschaert, who he beat in, 17 seconds? And Meerschaert's come back and won 4 of his last 5 fights, fighting this weekend or next weekend at UFC 287. So he beat a good fighter in 17 seconds, a guy who's 4-1 in his last 5. So don't think, Gerald Meerschaert isn't Alex Pereira or Paulo Costa or Robert Whittaker, but he's still a very good fighter, make no mistake about it. So don't believe for a minute what Gilbert Burns is saying, except for the fact that he's a great fighter. I would agree with that part of it. But just because those guys are big, wait till you see how big Khamzat is at middleweight, because we haven't seen him at middleweight for 2, 3, 4 years now. And when he comes back in middleweight, he'll look just as big as those guys. Don't worry about it. Khamzat is going to be strong in the middleweight, and he will be the middleweight champion. That's just my prediction. Now, there's a lot of other things going on. Of course, you got Justin Gaethje saying he'll quit MMA if Conor McGregor gets a title shot after beating Michael Chandler. So let's get past Michael Chandler first and see what happens. But that's what he's saying. He's also saying he could KO Islam Makhachev, which is a wild thing to me. He says, I think Islam is a hard fight for anybody. Just create damage. I'd have to fight the perfect fight, Gaethje said. I think I can KO him. I think I can KO anybody with the power that I possess. You know, and we know Islam Makhachev isn't invincible now, right? I mean, he had a tough fight with Volkanovski, and that's because Volkanovski's really good. But did that bring him down from his pedestal? I mean, could Gaethje go in there and beat him? Potentially. But you got to defend the takedowns 100% of the time. Or, you know, at least 90% of the time, and hope when he gets you on the ground that you can survive the round or get back up, because he's not going to let you go. But sure, Gaethje could KO Islam Makhachev, but it's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely. I just don't see that happening. Now, the next big main event, Adesanya looks to get revenge on Alex Pereira. He's lost to him 3 times, including a KO in the 5th round at UFC 281. This is how that fight sounded. Now Pereira ties up Adesanya, 3:40 left. Pivotal round 5 and a big right elbow. Backs up Pereira. Adesanya finally gets some distance. Going deep into the 5th round here. Adesanya ducking away from a right-hand jab. Here comes Adesanya with a left. And another left. Oh, and Pereira coming in with a big right. Did he hurt Izzy? Izzy's wobbly. Oh, Izzy takes a left, now an uppercut. Takes a right. Oh my gosh. No. No, Pereira's pounding away. Oh, Izzy's going down and it's over. Wow. 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 Izzy goes down, bro. Yeah, and at that time, it was complete shock because I fully expected Adesanya to win. Forget what happened in kickboxing. He's been the champion forever. It's like seeing Usman lose is kind of shocking until, when you see it. But can Izzy come back and get the win in this fight? I mean, he's still favored, which is the crazy part. I mean, the guy is still favored. And you see there, of course, you got Aljamain Sterling up in there. But if you go to the second page, 11 through 20 on the do list, Adesanya is still number 12. And if he wins this, he's right back in the top 7 or 8 for sure. But we had to slide him down because he lost. But he's still big time. He's still one of the best fighters in the world. You look at the middleweight division rankings now, as it concerns Adesanya, Pereira, and even Khamzat Chimaev if he fights a Paulo Costa or a Cannonier or Vittori. But Pereira is the champ. Adesanya is number 1. So that's what we got to look forward to in the middleweight division. So hold on to Khamzat Chimaev for a while, because right now we got to get this title solidified first. So let's get to the prediction for Pereira versus Adesanya 2, or really 4, but the rematch in the UFC. In the middleweight division at UFC 287 for the middleweight division title, we got another rematch here between Alex Pereira, 7-1, the Brazilian, taking on the Nigerian former champ, Israel Adesanya. He's 23-2. Both guys 6'4". Adesanya's got a 1-inch reach advantage, pretty much even. He's a switch stance fighter. Pereira, we know, stands right-handed. Now, more activity from Pereira, 5.2 significant strikes per minute to about 4 per minute for Israel Adesanya. So that's, over the course of 25 minutes, that's 25 significant strikes, which is why Adesanya has got to pick up the pace in this fight. Takedowns, forget about it from either fighter. They're trying to stand and strike, which is why it's a tough matchup for Adesanya. Both guys got great takedown defense, 73% Pereira, 77% Adesanya. Now, in the last fight, before the finish, Adesanya had a pretty good lead, like 10 or 15 in significant strikes going into round 5. And then Pereira turned it on and got the finish 2:01 into 2 minutes and 1 second into the 5th round. Now, before that, Adesanya was ridiculous. Major winning streak if you look past the Jan Blachowicz loss for the UFC light heavyweight title at the time. I mean, he was beating everyone. Sean Strickland, Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker, Marvin Vettori, right? He lost to Blachowicz. Before that, he beat Paulo Costa, Yoel Romero. But he hasn't had a finish since September 26, 2020. And I'm thinking he's either got to get the finish here, or he's just got to have a ridiculous pace, shooting for 150 to 200 significant strikes, and just continue to work and not be worried about running out of gas. He's got to be in great shape, and he's got to just frustrate Pereira, who is a real slow-paced fighter. Even though he's got 5 significant strikes per minute, kind of lulls you in. But you got to have activity and not let him be comfortable in his shoes. And if Adesanya does that, I think he takes the belt back. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen. That's my prediction. A little bit of delayed on this one because I had to really think about it. A lot of times we do it on the fly, and we are now, but I really believe Adesanya is going to go in there and find a way. I mean, he's a specialist in this area. Tough matchup with Pereira, the fact he beat him 3 times now, but that won't matter in this one. Adesanya wins, likely by decision, to move to 24-2 and get the belt back, and then we all got to hope there isn't another rematch. But that's the way it goes down here in the middleweight division at UFC 287. Yeah, so we like Adesanya, but the tough part about this prediction and fight for Adesanya is that he's a specialist. He's very unlikely to finish Pereira, and he's got to last 5 rounds. You know, he was set up well going into the 5th in the last fight, but couldn't withstand what Pereira was bringing. And Pereira stole the belt, won the belt, finished him in the 5th round. So Adesanya has just got to continue to do what he did in the previous fight, but he's just got to last for 25 minutes. And that's a long time to last against a guy like Pereira, who's got KO power from beginning to end. But we still like Adesanya to win this fight. Now, as we jump into the Q&A, Math Prodigy says, I definitely think Khamzat has been ducked multiple times. I mean, you think? I mean, the guy's been waiting for a fight. Craig says, Khamzat needs to fight in middleweight and then fight Leon for the title. Colby doesn't deserve a title shot. If anything, Bilal deserves it more. I hear you, but there's already talks of Colby and Leon fighting in London at UFC 291. That'll make it harder for Leon to say no. And, you know, what's the rush to get Leon back in the octagon? Like any other champion, it's like a year. Leon, you got to fight 4 months later, 5 months later. But they're trying to keep the division moving, and I respect that. And Colby can beat Leon. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but he can do it. Ramon says, Jorge for the win in his hometown. Yep, Miami, baby. A motivated Masvidal is a very dangerous one. Gilbert is a savage, but he's going to need his high-level BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to win. Yeah, and this is a tough matchup for Jorge because of the size of Gilbert Burns. But again, Jorge, like Alex Pereira, has KO power. DK MMA says, Masvidal got this one, brother. I hear you. Football fan says, not when Gilbert takes the dive. Yeah, that's going to be the thing if Gilbert loses, right, that he took the dive. Because the UFC would love to see Masvidal fight Leon Edwards if they both can win. Because that would be a big one just because of the rivalry and the opportunity that Masvidal would have. Lassane says, Holland by KO. Yeah, it's not going to be easy against Ponzinibbio, but I think he can get the win. Chris Barnett over Chase Sherman. RM says, I agree. And Marcus, I believe, says, great video, man. Much appreciated. You know, a lot on Gilbert Burns in the last podcast. MV Druma says, I think we are all up for Burns. But let's not count Masvidal out too soon. And that's the thing, is that KO power is something that can happen at any time. Lauren says, sorry, Gilbert gets defeated. So you have a lot of Masvidal fans. I mean, I think that's very clear. Back to Khamzat. someone Met weighing in saying he's fighting Costa in October. And I really hope that's the case. I really hope that he fights Paulo Costa, because that wouldn't be an easy one. And if he can go in there and demolish Paulo Costa like he's done with other opponents, that will be saying a lot. I think he gets the win, but it will be interesting to see how he deals with the size of someone like Paulo Costa, who's reinvigorated, has a new contract, is a big guy, and it certainly wouldn't be an easy fight. But I think Khamzat's up for the task. I think he's just too strong at middleweight for everybody. Alex Pereira, Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vettori, it really doesn't matter. And really, Paulo Costa might be the toughest one just because of the size. I think he goes in and takes Izzy right down. I think he gets Alex Pereira to the ground and beats him in the first round. That's just what I think would happen, especially in a middleweight fight where Khamzat is going to be very big. But let's leave it at that. That's all we got for now. We'll be back probably tomorrow, but throughout the rest of the week as we gear up for UFC 287. So far, we got Gilbert Burns winning, and we got Israel Adesanya winning. But I will say I wouldn't be mad if Masvidal wins. That's one prediction I'm willing to get wrong, because he's fighting in Miami. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a huge crowd, a pumped-up crowd. They haven't been down to South Florida in years. So look for that to be a very exciting situation or pay-per-view event at UFC 287. But for now, your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day and God bless. Peace.